Hello, and welcome to Kaiserredux? What? What? Yeah, so we're back to playing Hearts of Iron 4. This time we're playing Kaiserredux. Yeah. So, in case you don't know, Kaiserredux is just like Kaiserreich, but it has a lot more content. And you're like, wow, then it's probably just like strictly better than Kaiserreich. Well, it's not. It really depends on the type of game that you want. Kaiserreich is... It has less content, but the content tends to be more strictly controlled. Like, the mod teams are most, like... There's an attempt for consistency of tone, and an attempt to sort of keep things relatively quote-unquote realistic. Kaiserredux is a little bit more of a grab bag. Like, it has a lot of... like, even it has some old content that, like, was, like, you know, used to be in the mod and then was taken out. Like, I actually had to change this because they use Old Italy in this. And they also just have, like, a bunch of joke paths and, like, meme paths where it's like, whoa, do you want to play as, like, I don't know, some random, like, do you want to play as some, like, random guy? Do goofy things, like, I don't know, like New England, you can play as H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, stuff like that. So, yeah. Anyways. So, yeah. Anyways. Today we're going to be playing as the United States of America, and though it is possible to avoid the Civil War in this timeline, I'm not intending to. Actually, in this mod, I'm not intending to. I'm instead intending to play as a faction you can only play as in Kaiserredux. And you'll see where we're going with this, but like, there's a few options that are new to this. Like, there's a read on Civil War. I would love to see like because the Civil War content for the U.S. in Kaiserreich is, I think, not great. It's not. It doesn't make a ton of sense, and it's not incredibly, like, for the tone they're going with. It's like, you know, it could stand for a better explanation. I've seen some people who are like trying to make a sub mod of this where the goal is to make it more realistic. And I'd be like, if we can get to that, would be great. But this mod's American Civil War, I think, is fine. One thing that's worth noting, I made an interesting decision. First of all, I have the state transfer tool as an option because this mod is not as designed, shall we say, as Kaiserreich. So I may have to get in there to make stuff make sense. Yeah. Anyways. Let's see.
Rose, I love you with an aching heart.
Yeah. Anyways, you'll see where we're going with this when we actually get there. But we're not there yet. So, you know, when we get there, we'll be there.
Make way, oh make way for my eastern rose. Men crowd in dozens everywhere she goes. In her rickshaw on the street or in a cabaret. Please make way for Rose, you can hear them say, all my life I shall remember Oriental music.
Right now I'm building up stuff for when, if you know, you know. It's gonna be, we're playing as like a loyalist faction, so it's gonna be associated with like, MacArthur, right? Anyways. Let's start reading some stuff. The United States in 1936. In 1936, the United States of America is gripped by an unrelenting crisis. Relieved it had managed to avoid the horrors of the Weltkrieg, Woodrow Wilson was the first United States president to run and win a third term as the quote-unquote man who kept the peace, alongside his new running mate, former Attorney General Alexander Mitchell Palmer. Riding on the back of this unprecedented victory, the Wilson administration lobbied heavily for the ratification of the Titles of Nobility amendment, which had been before the states for ratification since 1810, stripping citizens of their citizenship should they accept a foreign title. The Wilson administration feared that with the victory of Germany in the Great War, they may try to win over the American population for monarchism with the promise of noble titles. After a lengthy lobbying campaign, the 18th Amendment was formally adopted. This political victory was short-lived, however, as Wilson suffered a stroke shortly after his election, setting off a constitutional crises, and struggle for power in the cabinet until Wilson died in late 1923. Until then, Wilson, Palmer, and the cabinet had reacted to the French and British revolutions, the growth of American syndicalism, with increasing extreme crackdowns on union organizing and eventually a slew of organizations suspected to have connections with the radical left. As workers became increasingly radicalized and anarchist bombers made several attempts on Palmer's life, the political situation deteriorated along with the economy due to a combination of strikes, political instability, and the loss of trading partners. Palmer's own controversial presidency ended with the election of Herbert Hoover in 1928, who attempted to calm the situation with a return to normalcy, re-legitimizing violent syndicalist outlets. This ultimately did little to help, as a culmination of speculative investing sent the United States spiraling into the 1929 Great Panic and allowed the Berlin stock market to take its place at the forefront of the world economy. The election of Herbert Hoover in 1928, while initially promising, has failed to reverse the decline of the American economy, and the Great Panic has created one of the worst financial crises it had ever seen. This fueled the rise of radical politics in America, such as the far-left Socialist Party of America. The populists share the wealth of society under Huey Long and his National American First Party, and the far-right Old Democratic Party, which faces the blame of syndicalist and civil rights uprising at the feet of immigrants, Republican cosmopolitanism, and liberal toleration of the left. Hoover's contentious re-election to the House of Representatives in 1932 and the ongoing Great Depression means that these problems are unlikely to be resolved anytime soon. Many throughout the country fear the upheaval that would result should one of the extreme parties come to power, or should the Depression continue unabated. God save America. Alright. So... we'll see where we go with this. Anyways. Garnet Wagner bill reintroduced. With assurances made by President Hoover that, unlike in 1932, this time he would not veto the bill, Democratic Senator Robert Wagner and Speaker of the House John Nance Garner have reintroduced their unemployment relief legislation package. Many in Congress feel the package is not nearly far enough. Others wonder how America, in the midst of a massive economic crisis, will possibly ever pay for it. The presence of senators from the AFP and SPA also complicates things immensely. Even with Hoover's pledge, it's unknown if Garnet Wagner has a real chance of passing. We shall see. Ah, yes, okay. Oopsie. Kransky's been shot. Yeah, I'm not going to read every that. Voting rights in the Legation Council. The legation cities were founded in 1928 as a result of our intervention in the Zili-Vientiane conflict that was soon going to spell out an open war between the other two powers in the Far East, Germany and Japan. While we obviously wish to end the conflict, we found it in our power to create a lasting solution to the imperial rivalry in China, as well as push our open door policy, so we forced other powers to merge their concessions in China into one conglomerate, consisting of all official concessions in China, as well as a 30-mile neutral zone. The legation cities, officially known as the international mandate for the Chinese concessions, also host a forum, the Legation Council, for the various powers with Chinese interests to resolve disputes and work together. Naturally, we have a vote on the Council, and we are often the deciding factor between the Japanese and Germans, with the secondary powers mostly playing second fiddle to us. Our voice is usually one that speaks for keeping the status quo of an open door to China for all powers, which helpfully lets everyone benefit without having to involve themselves in individual Chinese factions. To American cities, the legation cities represents not only a great way to get reach, but a shining example of American forward-thinking and our commitment to peace. A perfect arrangement. Ah. Okie dokie. Crime spree sweeps the nation. As America spirals ever deeper into chaos, there has been a wave of crime throughout the country. Many of these criminals are getting sensational news stories about their activities, especially gangsters, like bank robber John Dillinger, Chicago crime boss Al Capone, and the scandalous Bonnie and Clyde. Thankfully, the Bureau of Investigation has been working hard to catch these criminals and bring some order back to America, though they have requested an increase in funding, claiming they have a shortage of manpower. Of course, the AFP, ODP, and SPA have begun attributing these crimes to moral decline and robber baronies. Increase FBI funding. We cannot spare anything at the moment. Let's increase our funding. I prefer to have stability to political power. Long and Haywood demand changes. As expected, the early challenges to the Garnett-Wagner bill have come from the AFP and the SPA. Huey Long and his AFP senators have demanded vast increases in the Social Security provisions the bill provides. Provisions most other senators in America say senators say America could never afford. Bill Hayward and the SPA, meanwhile, say the bill doesn't do enough to protect the average worker, particularly from exploitation by struggling corporations. Both parties have attracted a lot of media attention, adding the general sense of disorder and tension in Congress. Interesting. 1936 Riga Olympics. Fourth instance of the Winter Olympics, German Protectorate of the United Baltic Duchy has been picked as the host nation, with Riga at the center, funded by German taxpayer dollars. Riga has been outfitted with a plethora of new stadiums to accommodate the prestigious event. Out of the four current Winter Olympics, Riga Olympics have had the heaviest medals. As for the winners, first place went to Norway, carrying home 7 gold medals. Second and third were Sweden and Germany respectively, with 3 and 2 gold medals. Russian athletes made a larger appearance than in the 1932 Montreal Olympics, Canada's first Olympics as the exiled British Empire. Canadian athletes also participated, taking home 1 gold medal. Congratulations to the winners. Totalist Charter. Eugene Talmadge flips. Georgia Governor Eugene Talmadge has formally declared himself a member of the old Democratic Party after being a lifelong member of the Democratic Party, which he claims is selling out true Americans. A political faction with an ambiguous relationship to the Democratic Party, they appear to primary Democrats they disapprove of whenever possible, and when it's not, they run on their own ticket. When they win, they nonetheless often caucus with the Democrats, whom often dislike them but need their support. However, it is clear that the ODP is displacing sections of both parties, including the Klan-controlled Indiana Republican Party, which has seen increasing defections to the ODP, which is a member of in all but name many ways, and Talmadge's declaration has set off another wave of Democratic defectors to the ODP, especially in the American Southeast. Bastard. Eddie 8 is king. Good for him. Let us train. Senators break ranks. After weeks of negotiation, a number of establishment senators have broken ranks over the coming vote on the Garnett-Wagner bill, most notably Robert Wagner, one of the bill's proposers, who said he will not vote for the bill unless protections for federal unemployment insurance are re-added. Many other Democrat and Republican senators are concerned about the influence of the AFP and SBA, claim they will not vote for the bill if any concessions are made to either group, though others say that not according to either the AFP or the SBA will make passage of the bill difficult, if not impossible. President Hoover will need to intervene in order to save the bill. I think we're going to compromise with the SPA. More SPA members announcing congressional bids. Oh dear, this happened again. More SPA members announcing congressional bids. Yeah, the construction queue's all messed up. That's awesome. I love to see it. More SPA members announcing congressional bids. While there have been a number of lawmakers from the Socialist Party of America in the past few decades, particularly in the Steel Belt, the 1936 election represents an unprecedented number of people registering to run for office under the banner of the SPA, and just as many, if not more nationwide, pledging to vote for them. Both Big Bill Haywood and John Lewis have begun increasing campaigning for their respective factions of the SPA to the enthusiasm of American Socialist Reds. Compromise with the SPA. Recent days have resulted in a compromise between many establishment senators and the Socialist Party of America, with numerous extra provisions included for worker protection and unemployment relief, though nowhere near as far as the SPA originally demanded. Even so, Bill Haywood has declared this a victory and is riding high in recent polls. As Huey Long's AFP and a large number of Democratic senators have declared this a betrayal of the American public, however, and have vowed to sink the Garrett-Wagner bill when the vote comes. We've done what we can. We've done what we can. There's the Afghanistan war. Afghanistan actually has content in this mod. The National Unity Agreement. The 1936 election is looking to be one of the most contentious in American history. Many politicians within the upper circle of the Republican and Democratic parties fear that a victory by the Socialist Party of America and the America First Party, or the old Democrats, would mean the end of America and the American way of life. In order to avoid this, a plan has been proposed by the Republican Party in which they will nominate a member of both the conservative and progressive wings of their party to the ticket to guarantee a moderate platform. As part of their agreement to the Republicans will not run candidates in the quote-unquote solid South. To give traditional Democrats a better chance, will likewise not run party-endorsed candidates in progressive-heavy areas. This plan is unlikely to be popular with lower-ranking members of the party, but it is maybe the only thing that can prevent radical parties from gaining strength. Most importantly, all parties agree that whichever party between the three of them wins a plurality for president will be endorsed by the other two parties for president in the House of Representatives. Despite a lack of public popularity, President Hoover is still ahead of the Republican Party. His support would be invaluable to gaining support for the plan from more senators. Let us endorse the agreement. Alright. Black Monday hits America. Despite the political turmoil and ineffectual economic relief programs, it seemed to many that the economy of the United States might finally be undergoing a slow recovery after the Great Panic of 1929. Black Monday has already put an end to such hopes and has sounded the death knell for an already ailing economy. Republicans and Democrats have pledged to fix the economy should they win the election, though public confidence in them is rapidly waning. Haywood, William H. Murray, and Long finally seem to agree on something. They've all railed against the corrupt banking and political sectors they blame for allowing the crash to have happened. This is not our year. This is just not our year. Mein Gott. I'll leave this up until it auto passes so we get a little more economy out of that. Report! Paramilitary growth. With violence and instability sweeping the country, J. Edgar Hoover sent a report that the FPA and SPA have begun growing their existing paramilitary militias, which they claim is necessary to protect their supporters from either the government, vigilantes associated with the old Democrats, or even each other. The FP have called their group the Minutemen, while the SPA calls their militants the Red Guard. Meanwhile, the old Democrats are associated with various white supremacist paramilitary groups, especially a revanchist National Klan, who's seen consistent growth as a result of quote-unquote immigrant radicalism and a push for further recruitment pressed for by Hiram Wesley Evans, the apparent heir of the Grand Wizard William Joseph Simmons. Patrolling party strongholds and party rallies, these well-armed and equipped paramilitary units have already begun to engage in scattered, though extremely violent, conflicts. Legally, the paramilitaries are modifying civilian firearms, and the FEI's attempt to seize weapons stockpiles are too slow to stop gun runners. This could turn very bad very fast. Damn it. I'm just gonna leave that over here. Australians in France. Okay. Interesting. Austrians withdraw from Italy. That's Pendergast. Death of Roy D. Chapin. The United States Secretary of Commerce, Roy D. Chapin, died today due to a severe heart attack. A close ally of Herbert Hoover within the Republican Party. Chapin has definitely attempted to work with businesses, especially those in the motor industry, to undo the severeness of the Great Depression, with Vice President Charles Curtis having only survived his own heart attack earlier this month due to it occurring in the White House with medical staff on standby. Many see this as both a symbolic and literal example of the old political class passing away in favor of new moments, although the Republican Party has protested such claims. A tragedy. Also going to leave this over here. Alright. China has broken out into war. Republican nomination disagreement. The Republican Party is united in its goal to save America and preserve liberal democracy, but as per usual, a disagreement has arisen over whether a member of the party's progressive or conservative wing will be the president to oversee this. Representing the party's moderate conservatives is Charles Curtis, Vice President of the United States, who's well renowned for his negotiating abilities amongst politicians, giving a moderate appeal that crosses party lines. However, representing a more liberal wing of the party is famed businessman and Kansas Governor Alf Landon, whom favors more direct economic intervention in the economy and could win over progressive Republicans, whom recently defected to the left-leaning Progressive Party. While the loser will be the other's vice presidential candidate, to show party solidarity, Hoover, using his little remaining political capital to back a candidate, could make or break them. Could back Curtis, or could back Landon. I'm going to get political power from this. Let's back Curtis. The Garnett-Wagner bill passes. Though the vote was incredibly close, the Garnett-Wagner bill has passed Congress. People throughout the United States are celebrating this welcome relief to the country's disastrous economic situation, but many within the government are wondering, how will the bill be paid for? Victory for all of us. Victory for us all, sorry. Yeah. So, now, I'm going to leave this because it reduces our construction stuff. I have to press this button to get the bill passes. I pass it. We're going to get repayment of war debts because this spends political power. Oh, shoot. I'm still going. Okay. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Alright. Democratic Coalition in Mexico. Alright. Charles Coughlin's radio broadcast. 3 years ago today, Father Charles Coughlin began a weekly radio broadcast in America that now has an audience of over 50 million people. A leading AFP activist. He is a conspiracy-minded populist who claims that the syndicalist revolution in France was fomented by the German elite, quote-unquote, and that the Berlin stock market crash is an international conspiracy of bankers. And somehow, people still tune into his radical agenda, which calls for a near overthrow of the United States government. His extreme and unorthodox rhetoric is barely tolerated by the Church, and the Pope is expected to make the decision whether to ask the United States government to shut down his broadcast so his message cannot reach the public. So we can shut him down or not. I hate what he says, but I defend his right to say it. Rip Nanjing. Cuban tariffs. Though the Platt Amendment, which governed Cuban-American trade and its relations, was annulled, and its successor requires only minor trade concessions on part of the Cubans, a delegation has arrived from Cuba to petition for the abrogation of one portion of the current treaty. A part of the new Treaty of Cuban-American Relations, Cuba is required to levy substantial tariffs against non-American products. This, Cubans argue, has caused great economic harm and contributed to the near collapse of its government. To prevent another incident such as the one which recently befell their nation, they say we must concede their position on the issue. They must respect the treaty, or it is the only way. I'm inclined to say it is the only way. Okay. Well, the Republican National Convention has not occurred yet. Some of the leaders of the Republican Party are fearful they will lose the upcoming election due to the bad health of Charles Curtis. The liberal wing of the party is pushing for to switch Curtis for Landon, distance themselves from the old guard. Meanwhile, a group of conservative Republicans are pushing both Hoover and the Republican leadership to run the president again in the upcoming election. The leadership of the Republican Party is still willing to stick with Curtis despite the health concerns, but these whispers must be addressed if he is to become the next president. We need a new face, or it's insane to switch now. We are keeping Curtis. Let's keep Curtis. Baton declares martial law. The Pope died. Agriculture crisis in Ukraine. St. Patrick's Day flood. On March 16th, 1936, warmer than usual temperatures led to the melting of large amounts of snow and ice in the upper Allegheny and Monongahela rivers. The rivers and tributaries had already overflowed their banks and were threatening the city of Pittsburgh. On March 17, 1936, the waters reached the flood stage at 25 feet. Then overnight, heavy rain caused the water to flood even higher, and on March 18th, the water peaked at about 46 feet, 21 feet above the flood stage. This is already the worst disaster in the city's history, and local authorities have already requested federal aid. We must help the people. They have to help themselves. We're going to help the people. Let's get more naval XP. More positioning as well. Yeah, I think 12 is about what we can handle in terms of getting more National Guard. Huey Long speaks. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party were just like the old patent medicine drummer that used to come out around our country. He'd play the banjo and sell 2 bottles of medicine. One of those bottles was called High Popalorum, and the other one of those bottles was called Low Popahirum. Finally, somebody around there said, "Is there any difference between these bottles of medicine?" "Oh," he said, "they're considerable. They're both good, but they're different," he said. "That High Popalorum is made from the bark of the tree we take from the top down, and that Low Popahirum is made from the bark that we take from the root up. The only difference I have found between the Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership was that one of them was skinning you from the ankle up and the other from the ear down. When I got to Congress, homely sayings do not win elections." Democratic nomination. The Democratic Party has nominated the Texas Representative John Nance Garner, whose political clout was derived from being Speaker of the House for the past 2 years. Garner is a well-known anti-radical who won the nomination on the back of 2 promises: to preserve the economic progress made by Wilson and preserve liberty at all costs. As Wilson remains controversial even within the party, this raised a fair amount of debate and angered members of the party. Garner was too conservative and out of touch to be president. Nonetheless, he has much more support than not within what remains of the Democratic Party that's increasingly being absorbed by the old Democrats on its right wing and the AFP and progressives on its left. Garner's promise to preserve democracy without giving it any form of radicalism and denouncing those who would give extreme compromises to them is appealing to many fearful of America's increasing political instability. Damn Democrats. Alright. Pay us back. Give us more, give money. I think we're gonna smooth it up. We'll see. Probably, we'll see. Canada refuses. The Canadian government has responded to the demand with a flat refusal. The debt, they say, was never meant to be repaid until the home islands were retaken, even as most was incurred by the United Kingdom, a government that is now in exile. Even so, the refusal has done its job and fired up the isolationist elements of the American government. President Hoover's government has the support it needs at the cost of relations with the Canadians. So be it. Oh yeah, we're just like bleeding off. The 1936 Stanley Cup. Two teams made it to the 1936 Stanley Cup Finals. The Toronto Maple Leafs, making their 6th appearance, and the Detroit Red Wings, making their 2nd appearance, and still hungry to win their first cup. With only a brief interruption to the first game in Detroit, with demonstrations by the Socialist Party of America disrupting proceedings outside the stadium, the series has gone off without a hitch and captivated audiences in both countries. Who will take home the cup this year? Come on, Detroit. Well, we're going to find out who takes home the cup in the next episode. Bye-bye.